Welcome, everybody, to another live edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show. Along with Zach Meisel, I'm Adam the Bull. And Zach, we are both celebrating birthdays with our children this weekend. Did you eat a lot of cake at your son's birthday party?
I had a lot of cookies.
Aha.
Everyone else went for the cake.
Yeah.
That left me with the cookies. There are no cookies remaining.
Wow. Like, are we talking serious cookie damage or like dozens of cookies?
Yeah. I think probably.
All right, we're going to predict how much weight Zach gained over the weekend. That's all coming up next. Plus updates on Ben Lively and Lane Thomas. A brutal weekend for the Guardians at the hands of some former Guardians. All coming up on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show. And our title sponsor on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show today is Epicor. We'll talk more about Epicor a little bit later. We'll talk to you as well. So send your messages into the chat, and we will discuss them a little bit later. Guardians with a awful weekend, Zach, in Cincinnati. First time facing Terry Francona as manager of the Reds. Will Benson, who just got called up last week. I mean, the guy like Nolan Jones was really good 2 years ago. Like Nolan Jones did nothing last year. And he had spent most of this season in the minors, recently got called up. He had a big weekend, did a couple of home runs. Francona, gets his revenge, if you want to look at it that way. I don't know that we really look at it that way, but, maybe you do. What'd you think overall thoughts of the weekend that was a Cincinnati beatdown of Cleveland?
Well, look, these two teams are going to play again.
Yep.
3 games in Cleveland, and the Guardians have to sweep or else they give back the Ohio Cup for the first time since 2014. I mean, this is like Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah.
And boy, I don't want to live in a world where Michigan and the Reds are just running rampant on their rivals, right?
That would be tough to deal with. I don't know if it's ever happened before, the two at the same time.
No, on a serious note, I mean, this was, I don't know. This team is just very, like the definition of meh. I like the offense is a little bit below average, right?
Yeah.
The pitching has been a little bit below average. And I mean, it's incredible that the team still has a winning record, but they just, I don't know, like they're never firing on all cylinders. It's just, how do you not at least escape Cincinnati with one of those games? The offense, we can have the same discussions we've had every single week on this show, where it's like, hey, you need some young guys to emerge at the plate. You're a couple bats short.
Right.
You need the pitchers to be a little more consistent. And like, it's the same conversation. And I don't know, maybe we're getting closer to some roster shuffling. I think guys getting back from the injured list, that's certainly on the horizon. But I don't know. There's like how many hitters on this team, Bull, are you like, ooh, this guy's up at the plate? Like, I'm interested to watch this at bat.
3.
Okay. And who would that be?
Juan, Manzardo, and Jose.
Okay. And that's fair.
And to put it, and I even hesitated because, all right, I'm going to do it, even though people are going to roll their eyes. So obviously I watch the Cubs a lot, and right now they're very fun to watch, right? They steal a lot of bases. They hit a lot of home runs. They get a lot of extra base hits. They have pretty much everybody in their lineup outside of third base is contributing. Pete Crow Armstrong, very fun to watch. Kyle Tucker, very fun to watch. Seiya Suzuki, Michael Busch, Dansby Swanson's, after a terrible start, has been red hot for the last month.
Their catcher,
he's finally cooled off. And then they called up a young catcher who's also a DH who's like fat. I love watching fat guys hit. He's like a slightly taller Alejandro Kirk. He's got the same kind of profile too. He's good at making contact. So they have a lot of fun guys to watch. And compared to the other team I root for, the Guardians, it's just I do like watching Quan. He has good at bats. He's fun to watch. Jose's great. We got the Zach Meisel helmet counter there that we always got to follow. And, it's nice to see Manzardo with the porn stash hitting some home runs and taking care of that. But no, I'm not excited to watch Bo Naylor or Arias or Schneemann. And it's unfair. I mean, Schneemann's been pretty good, but
Schneemann's been good. I mean,
it's unfair, but
he's having a nice start. I wouldn't.
It just some of the guys, the Guardians just have way too many guys that even when they're hot, this is not going to last. Like Daniel Schneemann's not hitting 20 home runs. Daniel Schneemann's going to bat 250 with 260 maybe. He's going to hit 9 home runs. He's going to drive in 42. And it's, but when it's all said and done, you're going to be like, okay, you had a good couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at yesterday's lineup, and it's Juan and Ramirez at the top, fine. Santana hitting third, and I know he had a couple of hits, but this guy's been brutal.
Oh,
his OPS is 650.
Oof.
His slugging percentage is 320.
Yeah, that's awful.
Going into yesterday, there were 12 hitters in Major League Baseball with a lower slugging percentage.
Oh my God.
That's your first baseman. That's the guy replacing Josh Naylor for a year. Yeah. So and I understand he's a typical slow starter, but he's also 39. And David Fry is going to be back in a couple weeks, and he shouldn't be taking Manzardo's playing time. He should be taking Santana's. Not every day, obviously.
Right.
But
he should, yeah.
But you can't. If you're just going to hang around all year and let this guy play pretty much every day for the entire season and he doesn't turn it around, which is entirely possible at the age of 39, he's still drawing a lot of walks. That's great. But when you're 39, what's going to be when you start to decline at the plate? What are you going to lose? You're going to lose bat speed. You're going to lose power.
Yeah.
He has 7 extra base hits. That's just
you can't.
It's not going to cut it.
You know what? When you're 39, you're not a good, not a fast base runner. I don't really care about your on base percentage that much. If you have no slug, if you're on first base, I got to get 2 hits to get you around anyway. It's not like you're stealing a base, and if it's a fast guy, okay, then the on base means more. But when you're a 39-year-old declining first baseman, the on base, I'm not going to say it's useless, but it's not that valuable. And that's the problem. There's just so many guys that are not productive in the lineup.
Right. So if we go back to that lineup, so Santana was hitting third.
Right.
Arias is hitting fourth. And now there was a lefty on the mound, so that's why Manzardo wasn't in there. But, it says something when you're...
Manzardo's killed lefties.
He has, and it says something when you're pinch hitting for your cleanup hitter.
Yeah.
After your cleanup hitter had 3 at-bats.
Right.
And Arias has been okay. The OPS is 706. It's not like he's certainly cooled off. And, some of those alarming underlying things are still there. He is who he is to an extent.
Yeah.
And if he's your shortstop and he's putting up the numbers he's putting up right now and he's hitting 8th or 9th every day, you live with that. You're fine with that. But he was hitting 4th. There's a big difference there.
Yeah.
You had Noel hitting 5th. That guy has done absolutely nothing. And he is one of my favorite people in that clubhouse.
Yeah.
A great dude, easy to root for. You see how much he cares, how much he wants to be good.
Yeah.
That guy needs a reset at AAA so badly. I would imagine when Lane Thomas is back, he's the guy that goes. But I mean, his OPS is 429. His on base percentage is 170. He reaches base less than 1 out of every 6 plate appearances.
Yeah.
So it's just I just think, then you have Martinez was hitting 6th. Okay. Will Wilson 7th, Schneemann 8th, but that's lefty on lefty, and Hedges 9th. And I just think, what are your realistic? What's the best case scenario for a lineup like that?
To be below average, to be slightly below average is the best case scenario, I guess. Yeah, I mean, you have they only have so for those who don't know, an average OPS, changes from year to year. I'd say it's about somewhere between 710, 715. Is that fair to say? I believe the average OPS
this year, the average OPS is 710.
Okay. So right there. So the Guardians have Ramirez is at 877. Schneemann been really good, 839. Quan 802, Manzardo 801. Then Angel Martinez barely over that number at 716. Arias just below at 706, and everybody else is significantly below. I mean, you have guys who are playing every day who are well below league average. And you can survive with one or two guys like that, but you can't have four, especially when two of the, you can't have four guys essentially with an above average OPS, especially when one of them is Schneemann. And again, I'll be very happy if he proves me wrong, but if he has a 650 OPS 3 weeks from now, are you going to be surprised?
If he's used properly, he doesn't have to.
Okay, that's fair.
I think he can hit some righties. I think they believed in that last year too. That's how you ended up with him. I mean, he was in those playoff lineups.
Right. All right.
I'm by no means am I saying, hey, this is your second baseman for eternity. Right. And by no means, I wouldn't even predict that he's going to be able to sustain what he's doing now. I do think he can hit fastballs off a righty. That's it. So can you use him in a role where like he starts against some righties and bounces around the infield? That's probably the ideal role for him. But he's the least of my concerns. It's that, and it's not even, we're talking about the hitting here.
Yeah.
They don't have the pitching at this moment to survive hitting like this. That's the issue.
No.
Like I look at the Tigers and like, they can't stop winning. And obviously their offense has been better than Cleveland's.
Yeah.
I do think their offense should come back to earth a little bit. I mean, they've gotten, like, Torkelson has done what he was supposed to do, right?
Yeah. Torkelson and Baez have been the difference for them.
Yeah. And so, like, the question is Javi Baez, is this legit from Javi Baez? Like, Zach McKinstry has been incredible, and that came out of nowhere.
Right.
And Gleyber Torres has been great, and maybe he'll come down to earth a little bit.
By the way, I was saying all offseason the Guardians should sign him.
Would have been a good fit.
He'd be the cleanup hitter in this lineup.
Yeah. So, like, I think they'll come back to earth a little bit, but that's all. They're also okay if that happens because their pitching is so good, and they get consistent starts from Skubal and Olsen, and like even Flaherty hasn't even been great, but and their bullpen's great. So that's the issue is if I'm looking at the Guardians, I'm like, what is your strength? What are you great at? And like, I still trust Clase, Smith, and Gaddis and Herron, I guess. But like, that's not enough. Like last year you could rely on Tanner Bybee to give you good starts time in and time out. Even Ben Lively was really good and he was really good again to start this year. And you don't have him now. And you knew there was more depth to the lineup last season. So if the starting pitching, if you were relying on Carlos Carrasco at times last year, sometimes you were bailed out because you had just more reliable entities in your lineup. And you just said it. There are 3 guys that you're intrigued to watch step up to the plate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And, like Lane Thomas coming back is not going to magically fix this lineup.
Think about, and I do think Lane Thomas will help because, listen, the guy, I know he got off to a terrible start. He's a proven hitter. He should at least be better than some of the guys they put out there. But think about this. This would have been very doable. If they would have not traded Josh Naylor, and I know Slade Ciccone, good job by him. He pitched well the other day. But if they had not traded Josh Naylor, and they had not signed Santana, not signed Paul Sewald, and signed Gleyber Torres instead, the payroll would not be significantly higher. They paid, what did they pay Santana? What's Santana getting paid compared to what Naylor's getting paid this year?
Santana's getting $12 million. Naylor's getting a little bit less, I think.
Okay. So let's say Naylor, he's getting what?
10.9.
Okay. So Naylor's getting 11. Gleyber Torres got 15. So let's say you would have to pay him 15. That's 26. Santana's getting 12 and Sewald's getting 7. That's 19. For $7 million more, okay, you would not have Ciccone. You would not have Santana, who stinks. You would not have Paul Sewald, who's been terrible. You didn't need him really anyway. Can you imagine like how much better this lineup would be if you had Naylor and Gleyber Torres? I mean, they'd be way better. Those guys would be your 4 and 5 hitters. Think about it. You could even bet like, your 1 through 5 could be,
Kwan, Ramirez, Naylor, Manzardo, and Torres in some order. That's
right. I mean, and that's, again, we're not talking about busting up the payroll for that. But no, they can't, like, and listen, Gleyber Torres, I guess he could have gone to Detroit and been bad. It's fine. But he's been those are the guys you got to sign. Like, if you're going to have to wait one more year for Bazan, if you think Bazan, Gleyber Torres it was a 1-year contract. That was it. Like, why wouldn't you sign a guy like that and that's it. Like, I feel like to some degree, Antonetti and Chernoff have gotten a pass. Like, we always blame ownership because they don't spend, and that's fair. But
when they do spend, it's often ugly. But part of that is when you're shopping in the bargain aisle year after year, like, you're not expecting to find the greatest products anyway. There's a reason they're in the bargain bin.
Right.
I will say Torres, that one. I don't know what he's. I'm assuming he's not very good defensively.
No, he's not. No.
But you were sacrificing that anyway by trading Jimenez, and the one thing, because he's had some ups and downs. Like, some years he hits for power, some years he doesn't. He's always drawn a lot of walks, and I just felt like in October he was such a pest at the top of that Yankees lineup. Like, it felt like every at bat with him was exhausting. Like, he'd work counts and he'd take 9 pitches and he'd finally draw a free pass. I thought that would have fit nicely with just what Kwan and Ramirez can do at the top of the order.
His career OPS is 76. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's way better than most of the guys on this team. I mean, it just would have been a perfect fit. And you know what? If I'm the Guardians right now, I'm calling up CJ Kayfus and I'm DFAing Carlos Santana. It's enough. I mean, it's enough. Come on. We're almost 2 months. We're more than a quarter way into the season, almost a third into the season. Kayfus is killing it in AAA. What else do you want this guy to do? He's got almost an 1,100 OPS.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue against it.
Yeah. I know listen, you can call these guys up, and a lot of Nick Kurtz, who's more recent draft pick. Nick Kurtz, he's been terrible with Oakland so far. Some guys that's going to happen. But, like, you got half a lineup who can't hit. Can we call up somebody who's sizzling hot and see what he's got? I mean, maybe he's got, maybe there's things in his swing or in his hitting profile that make them think, well, he's not going to be able to hit enough at the big leagues.
Yeah, well, find that out first.
Right?
I mean, he's got, the last 4 days.
Yeah.
He has 11 hits.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
And 3 walks.
Yeah.
He's been incredible. He's always hit too. It's not like this is a 1-year flash in the pan. And the thing that we all should pay attention to is he's been playing right field pretty much every day.
That's right.
For the last 10 days. So clearly they believe that that's the path forward. Now, what I'm guessing will happen is you'll see Lane Thomas come back. You'll see Jhonkensy Noel go down.
Yeah.
That takes care of, I think you'll see basically Jones, Martinez, and Thomas cover center field and right field. Right. I don't know how Will Brennan fits. I don't think he does. I don't think that matters. And then I think in time, like, the Nolan Jones thing, like, I don't know. I still don't know what to think about that. Like, because he's out of options, you got to give him more time, and the metrics are great. I'm so tired of talking about that. But I would think that eventually this becomes maybe Kayfus in right field.
Yep.
And the guy whose spot he would take is Nolan Jones.
Yeah, it could be. I'd move on from Santana, but
you're going to have to mix in David Fry.
Yeah, right.
Chase DeLauder is going to be part of this equation at some point later this summer, and he's going to be a right field option. So maybe when he comes back and he gets some sea legs under him at AAA, he's in right field and Kayfus is at first base. Like, this roster can change a ton. I think maybe the reason why we sound so exasperated by it is you don't want to be sitting here saying, like, all right, how many days till Chase DeLauder's up? How many days till CJ Kayfus? Like, you want guys to have to earn their way back and force their way in instead of we have no other recourse but to wait for the 22-year-old we've never seen before.
Exactly. And as frustrated as we are, I mean, I'm seeing people say, "Oh, the season's over." This, I mean, come on, it's the Guardians, as bad as they've played lately, are a half game out of the wild card spot and only 5.5 games out of the division. I know the Tigers are playing great, but the season's far from over. That's silly. It's the middle of May and they're 5 games over 500. I think they're 4 games over 500. So let's not write the season off.
No, but this is, you've got Twins, Tigers, Dodgers. It's time to turn this thing around.
Yeah, absolutely. You just lost to the worst team you're going to play in 2 weeks, 3 in a row. And obviously it's particularly painful because Will Benson, who'd done nothing for 2 years, hits a couple of home runs against you, and then Terry, you lose to Terry Francona, and so it's frustrating. But yeah, I mean, they got to do something here at some point. And by the way, Kafis, as you said, the hitting in the minor, in 3 years in the minor, he's played as of yesterday 158 minor league baseball games, have 705 plate appearances in the minors. So that's about one full season, if you add it all up, maybe a little more. 25 homers, 133 ribbies. He has 67 extra base hits, 160 strikeouts, which is not, it's high, but it's not crazy. And a 9.
That's actually not for 705 plate appearances.
True. It's not crazy.
That doesn't bother me. Especially he has 93 walks.
Right. Yes. He's good at getting on base. His batting average in 705 plate appearances is 306. His on base is 411. His slugging is 536. The OPS is 947.
The other thing, Bull?
Yeah.
If you look at it, he's gotten better at each level.
Yeah.
Like his numbers in AAA are better than his numbers at AA were.
Right.
And his numbers at AA are better than they were. I mean, it's there's a lot to like there. And you never know. And that's the thing. We're not saying that this guy is, the second coming. He's 23 years old.
Right.
But
yeah,
it's I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
Your number of players you'd be intrigued to see stepping up to the plate would increase from 3 to 4.
100%. And again, if he sucks, okay, that, guys come back. Again, I'll reference the Cubs, and I don't know how he's going to do the second time around, but Matt Shaw, top prospect for the Cubs, started the season with the team, got off to a terrible start. They sent him back to the minors. He's been killing it for the last few weeks. They're calling him back up today. Again, will it, it's like, I'm not sure he's going to be great the second time around. The point is, even if it doesn't go well, Jackson Holiday last year was terrible for the Orioles. Started this season with the big leagues. He got off to a bad start. Now he's been red hot for a month. The numbers are really good for the season, and it feels like he's established himself. Even if it doesn't work out the first time, even Kyle Manzardo last year, right? He showed some signs, but he wasn't great. And now this year, he got another chance, and he's running with it. And there's even more room for him to grow. Young players are going to have ups and downs. They may struggle, and Kafis maybe stinks when he comes up. But he has earned, I believe, an opportunity between the fact, and I don't think it's obviously part of the reason he's going to get the opportunity at some point is because the guys in the big leagues aren't doing it. But what more can he do I know all you can say in the minors is he could do it for longer at AAA.
Yeah, that's it. Then learn right field more. But he's also, he's a left-handed hitter who has always hit lefties in the minors too.
Yeah.
Which is another plus.
Yep.
He's doing what you want young players to do, where it's, I've put you in a position where you are having conversations daily talking about, we should probably call this kid up, right? Or we got to do it soon. That's what you want from a young player instead of, these guys aren't working. Like, is there anyone down there who's ready? No, like they have to have conversations about this kid every day because he's thriving right now.
Yeah. Played at a big-time college baseball program at Miami, and I don't know. I'd like to see him get a crack, and you're 100% right. Like, they call him up, like, okay, I'm excited to watch CJ Kafis play tonight. Like, again, it's a lot of hope, but I want to see Kafis. I want to see Bazana at some point. I want to see all these guys, and it's time. I mean, the Guardians, they don't want to spend any money. And yet they are super slow in terms of calling guys up, and it's frustrating. And we're frustrated, and certainly the fans are frustrated by it.
It's just weird because these conversations that we're having, if you just woke up from a long coma, like I'm sorry for whatever happened to you, but Would you guess that the Guardians were in the ALCS
No.
like
Yeah,
8 months ago?
no.
Yeah, strange.
It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe, and the offense overachieved last year. And it's come back to reality for most of these guys, and obviously the relief pitching was, and the relief pitching has still been very good this year, but last year it was on another planet.
Yeah, I mean they've got, and I think it'll get better. They've got obviously the core four who they trust implicitly, and they're trying to manage those workloads, and that's why maybe you've seen, in a game where they're down by 2, they go to Junis instead, and it becomes 5, and everyone's saying why'd they go to Junis, and it's because well, you can't pitch Cade Smith 85 times,
right?
But the issue is, like, they need, thank God for Colby Allard, who's been incredible over 17 innings, but they need a couple more reliable arms, and they're waiting there at AAA. Andrew Walters will be up at some point. Franco Alamán will be up at some point, and that'll help bring a little stability, because the other half of the bullpen has been a revolving door, and you're cycling through the Zach Kents and the I feel like people just come and go. I can't even remember names. Cody Bolton was here for a minute. Vince Velasquez was here and didn't pitch. And it's just like, you need other guys you can trust, because you're not a team that's going to blow people out. So you're going to have more than 4 relievers that you can turn to in a close game.
All right, Zach, let's talk about some injury updates. We'll get to the fans' comments. But first, folks, I want to talk to you about Menu RX. I love Menu RX. So the guy who runs it, Dr. Jake May, and his team, I work with them personally. I use Menu RX for weight loss support, but they have a ton of other science-backed programs too. This is not some big box operation that's trying to fit everybody into one plan. No, if you're looking to get results, elite results from your nutrition and training program, if you're someone who knows core concepts of nutrition, but you're not seeing results you were looking for the ultimate edge up, it's time to take your approach to the next level with Menu RX. Menu RX cutting edge metabolic testing dives deep into your body's internal metabolic process to create a biologically personalized nutrition supplement and training plan. Let me put that in English for you. They design a diet plan that will help you get the best out of your food and the best out of your body to get in as good a shape as possible. Say goodbye to nutrition guesswork and add the groundbreaking science of metabolic testing to your toolkit. Visit Menu RX, that's menu-rx.com today to schedule your consultation and see how metabolic testing can completely change the way you eat, train, and achieve your physical goals. That's menu-rx.com. All right, Zach, injury updates. You mentioned the relief pitchers, so let's actually start with Eric Zabrowski. I know he's on the 60-day IL, from the beginning of the season. So the guys that were on the 60-day IL to start the season are approaching the time where they could come off it. Has there been any update on him? I mentioned I was going to ask you about a few guys before the show, and I didn't mention him, so I'm throwing a curveball at you here. But
yeah, he was. It was weird because I think he was hopeful right around like opening day that he'd be back at some point. I would say like between now and the next few weeks. But I think they're taking it really slow with him because he's already had Tommy John surgery twice. He's had a lot of elbow trouble. So I think he's one of those guys where it's like, almost like last year, where if you get like a late season, last couple months out of him, that's ideal. I think I'm trying to remember if it was him who said it or someone said it about him, where it's like, I'd rather pitch in August and September than just like May and June.
Sure.
So yeah, I think he's returned to throwing, and he's like been on the mound and stuff, but I think he's farther behind than like the Steffens and the Biebers and those guys.
What is it? Bieber is throwing now. Do they have any timeline on him yet?
Yeah, he could start. So what they've done is, I don't know if you've noticed, but like before guys go out on an actual rehab assignment, they've been playing in these Arizona Complex League games.
Right.
Like Fry was there for a week, and now he's on an actual minor league rehab assignment.
Right.
They're doing the same with DeLauder, and So that's where McKenzie was pitching. And so that's going to be, so I think Bieber and Stefan can get into those games like in the next 2 weeks.
All
so
right.
then you pitch there maybe a couple times, and then you go out on a rehab assignment for 4 weeks, and then you're back.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, usually when you go on a rehab assignment, it's I think, is it 3 weeks or is
Pitchers
it
get 30 days max.
Okay.
Hitters get 20 days max.
Okay. Right.
With
Now
guys coming back from Tommy John surgery, I would imagine you're going to use up most or all of that 30 days.
Yeah. I mean, we would think in best case scenario for Bieber would be, I was thinking August, but maybe he's going to be back by July. I don't know.
I think like right around the All-Star break, give or wait.
Yeah.
Maybe even like a week before that.
Oh, wow. Well, that would be huge, obviously, if they could bring him back. I mean, even, 3 months, 2.5 months, that would be pretty incredible. Ben Lively goes on the IL. He had been the Guardians' best pitcher, strained forearm flexor. That does not sound good. He's been gone a week now. What do we know?
Yeah, well, he's going to get a second opinion from like the Grim Reaper tomorrow. Keith Meister in Dallas, who does everybody's time. He does like 7 Tommy John surgeries a day.
Crazy.
And so not great, but they're still like cautiously optimistic that he's going to be okay. And I was talking to him the other day, and he thinks he's going to be all right too. But he's never had anything like this. He had a shoulder thing when he was pitching overseas a few years ago, but he said the only injury he's ever suffered as like a professional pitcher was he broke his collarbone on a hoverboard in 2018. He was with the Phillies, and he was about to get called up. He knew he was getting called up in a couple days to start against the Mets, and he would ride those hoverboard things everywhere he went, and had never had an issue. And then he's riding it, and he hits like a little pothole, and falls off, breaks his collarbone. He's like, yeah, I sat up and my collarbone was like level with my eyes.
Oh my God.
And so obviously he did not make that start against the Mets a couple days later. And the Phillies were furious, and he got dumped to the Royals shortly after that. Anyway, he was feeling this in that start against the Nationals like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they pulled him after like 63 pitches. He thought he was okay, and then he's feeling it in the start against the Brewers a week ago today. And he was like, the toughest thing is just when do you, because he's a macho dude, and he's always no BS, no excuses.
Yeah, right,
remember Bybee had to miss opening day?
Yeah.
Ben Lively was in Arizona, like just staying loose for whenever he was going to pitch a week later. And they called him. They're like, hey, man, can you hop on a plane and start on opening day for us tomorrow? And he's like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Like he's so no excuse or anything. So he was saying like it was a mental game of tug of war, like deciding, do I speak up? And finally they realized like that he was feeling the pain, and they were he was like, yeah, they were like, okay, Mr. Tough Guy, that's enough. And it's probably good, if he would have kept pitching, like I don't know what the result will be. I don't know if this is just a strain he needs to rest for a few weeks, or if he'll need elbow surgery. Because a lot of times those forearm strains lead to the elbow. But if he didn't speak up and kept pitching with this, I think, then maybe he would have blown it out. So probably a good thing they caught it when they did.
Tomorrow will be a month since Lane Thomas went on the injured list. I know any day now. When are we going to see him back?
Yeah, so he's played 5 games now for AAA Columbus and hit a home run yesterday. So that's a good sign. It's just a matter of if they feel like he's gotten enough at bats. I think he's gotten 17 in those 5 games. Maybe 18 or 19 plate appearances. So yeah, I think, you could see him back today. You could see him back in a couple days if they think he just needs a few more at bats. But yeah, you'll see him this week for sure, and we'll see how they use him. Do you go right field? I would think that's the move. He's been playing right field at AAA, so maybe they like him there, and Martinez and Jones in center, or Brennan, or whatever option you want.
All right, the pitching matchups for the Minnesota series. And obviously the Twins, who their winning streak finally came to an end yesterday against Freddie Peralta. They had won, 13 in a row?
Mm-hmm.
Which is unbelievable. So, that's why the Guardians are sitting in fourth place right now. Sorry, they're tied for third, technically in third, but ahead of Kansas City. But Minnesota's been red hot. But the pitching matchups for the 3 games in Minnesota, Logan Allen and Bailey Ober tonight, 7:40 first pitch. You have Gavin Williams and Chris Paddock tomorrow, 7:40. And then Wednesday afternoon at 1:10, Tanner Bybee and Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan obviously has been sensational. His whip is 0.79. That's crazy. I mean,
That's another team that they've had the pitching step up, and it makes it easier, to wait around to get some offense. When you have consistent starting pitching, it makes everything easier.
Yeah, and I was about to say, they've stayed relatively healthy this year. That's been a major problem for them. Byron Buxton's been pretty healthy. I think he just went on the concussion IL.
Him and Correa, right?
Right, that's true. They both did. But those, they always had some talented hitters there that just could never stay on the field. We'll see. I'm not a total believer in them for the whole season, but they're competitive. If nothing else, they're a competitive team. All right, let's get to some of the fan comments here. See what we got. Steve says, my Reds swept the Guardians after losing 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. Neither team is consistent. The Reds pitching has been good, but our offense is mediocre. Yeah. The Reds are one of those teams that's interesting. Like, they've had a lot of hype on a lot of their hitters in recent years, and a lot of them haven't really put it all together. Obviously, Ellie De La Cruz has been great. Matt McClain's been pretty good when he's been healthy, but some of these other guys haven't really done much. And they got Hunter Green hurt right now. Like, he's out. And yet, they've got some good young pitching. So
I see a lot of similarities, honestly.
Yeah.
Waiting on young hitters to emerge, trying to get consistency out of your starters. Yeah. Kind of similar teams. Scott Barlow.
Yeah, that's true. They do have him.
He was hitting 95 yesterday.
Really?
Where was that last year?
I don't know. Maybe write it up this year. I don't know. Shouldn't accuse him of that.
Probably not. He's a guy who lives in a van and.
Oh, he's one of those guys like Rod Beck. Oh, wow.
Or Daniel Norris.
He did too. I didn't know that. By the way, Matthew Boyd's been fantastic this year. I have to bust Jason's chops every time about it because he was apoplectic again about Matthew Boyd getting $15 million a year, as if that was some huge amount of money in the grand.
Alex Cobb got that.
I know, but Jason was like, couldn't believe it. And I get it. Matthew Boyd hasn't been consistently good. He's been injured. But like $15 million a year in the grand scheme of things is not crazy money for a pitcher.
Yeah, and you would think that the Guardians would be able to judge whether what he did last year was sustainable.
Yeah.
Better than most teams would be able to judge that.
Yeah.
And he's been exactly like he was last year.
Did you see the stat line from the 8 starts last year and the first 8 starts this year? They're basically exactly the same.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking right now and it's.
Yeah. I mean,
it's
pretty much.
And he's just so consistent.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. Like when they signed him to that deal last summer, I was like, really? This is the solution that they're going with? And because he pitched for Detroit forever and was like 1 year where he was solid.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I don't know. He was vehement that like his best days were ahead of him when he came back last summer.
Yeah.
And he's nailed it so far.
Yeah, so far. Let's see. Big J Bone says it's just like the Guardians to fill a beautiful weekend with mediocre baseball. Aaron says fire sale. I can see it coming, unfortunately. Now, there will be no fire sale. The Guardians don't do fire sales.
They don't have anything to. What are they selling?
First of all, relief pitchers don't bring back the same that other things do. But if the Guardians were to sell at the deadline, like what are you selling that's going to bring a lot in return? Could they trade Clase?
Sure.
Sure. They're not going to trade Cade Smith. Hunter Gaddis, as good as he's pitched, is not getting much in return.
No, and why you control these guys and they're making
Right.
the minimum? Why?
So you're not trading Tanner Bybee. You sign him long term. You're not trading Jose Ramirez.
Right. Like, who are you trading from your lineup that other teams would want?
Could you trade Quan? I wouldn't want them to. I guess that's possible, but I just don't. If the Guardians, and I don't think the Guardians to me will be contenders the whole season. I still think there's a decent chance to make the playoffs. But let's say in theory, in June they're they suck. They're under 500. They're out of it. Clase is the one guy I can see them potentially trading.
Yeah, but you're also selling low. He
right.
had a lot
Although
more
if he
value.
pitches great between now and then, I don't.
Yeah,
we'll see. But that's it. There's no fire sale coming. I mean, there's just, and even that I don't think is highly likely. It's just the one guy I could see potentially, but
there's no. We've talked about this. There's a lot of parity in the American League.
That's right.
Like, it would be difficult to fall out of the race completely.
Right. That is correct. Let's see. 1980 Rules says, really disappointed so far with Jones and Noel. Need more time, but not good so far. Well, as Zach said, Noel's probably about to be out of there when Lane Thomas comes.
This is not going to be surprising, but their right fielders rank 29th in baseball in OPS. The Royals are way worse, actually. Hunter Renfroe is responsible for a lot of that.
I actually was going to say the only thing surprising is that they're not 32nd.
Yeah.
Who are the three teams worse? The Royals? Who else?
No, just they're 29th. So just the Royals.
29th. I'm thinking 32. Like football, it's 30. Yeah. That's right. So, yeah, there's one team worse. Let's see. Ruthless Pope, what's the latest on Lane Thomas and David Fry? We just talked about Lane Thomas. Fry is starting a rehab assignment, you said?
Yeah, he's going to Akron. So
that means
20 days max, so he could be back within the next 2-3 weeks.
Does he have options, by the way, just in case they want it? I can't remember.
He should have at least one, yeah.
Because technically, if they felt like he wasn't quite ready after the rehab assignment, they could send him to the minors. But I'm guessing they've timed this out that probably wouldn't happen. So probably, early to mid-June, we'll see him back with the team. Big J-Bone, on top of things, the bullpen is not as good as last season. The bullpen was never going to be as good as last season. It's still good. It's just what they did last year was not sustainable. No. Brian Wagner, serious baseball teams don't put Will Brennan on their roster. Every team has a Will Brennan on the roster or somebody similar, but usually it's like the last guy on the bench if there is, not a guy who's platooning.
Yeah, he's off to an 0-for-9 start.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just whoever they put in right field. It's just, I don't know. It's like haunted or something.
What's the last right fielder?
I mean, they had Daniel Schneemann starting in right field in the playoffs.
I mean, Michael Brantley is still the last outfielder. Forget right fielder. Is still the last outfielder to hit 20 home runs for the Guardians.
No, was it 2014, I think?
That's crazy, Zach. I mean, that is insane.
And I remember we were talking about this in spring. Like, is that going to change this year? We thought it was. We thought, oh well, like Nolan Jones could. Didn't you say Jones and Noel could hit like 40 home runs?
I did.
Well, they have 4.
Clearly, I was doing drugs when I said that.
Yeah, I don't think you're getting 20 out of Lane Thomas or Angel Martinez. Steven Kwan's got 4, but he's obviously doesn't need to hit for power. I don't think that's changing this year.
No, I mean, the only guys hitting 20 home runs on this team are Manzardo and Ramirez. That's
maybe if Kafis starts in right field every day and comes up today.
But it's not, I mean, the Schneemann and Bo Naylor are tied for third on the team with homers with 6. You think either of them are getting the 20?
No, Naylor's got, like, he can hit 20
right
without question, but he almost has to, or else the bat's just not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, Kyle Manzardo leads the team with 25 RBIs. That's it.
Yeah, you might not have any. Nobody's on pace for 100.
No. I mean, that is just insane. They forget 100. How many guys are on pace for 50? Manzardo, Ramirez, Santana. Arias has 19, so obviously he is.
Quan.
I mean, Schneeman's on pace. You think Schneeman's going to get 50 ribbies? He's 13. You got him with 37 more ribbies in the final 110, 15 games?
Well, I know he's going to play.
But will he, though, if he falls off a cliff and they call some of these guys
You're
up?
You're dead set on him crashing to earth, but I just who else is there?
I'm being unfair to Schneeman. I'm being unfair. I'm not a believer, but so far he's playing well. I mean, my God, forget home runs. I don't even know if Nolan Jones and John Kenzie Noel will combine for 40 RBIs. They have 16 between them.
It's been hideous.
Let's see. Tim says votes lineup stink. Why is Schneeman batting 8th? He's one of the only guys hitting. I think it's a fair question. As much as I'm not a believer in Schneeman, he's been one of their better hitters. He probably should be batting higher.
Yeah, I mean, the reason is there was a lefty on the mound, but I'm with you. Yeah. Like, I don't even know if that matters. The starter went 5 innings. Like,
right. Most of the starters go 5 innings nowadays. Maybe 6. So.
And Schneeman has crushed righties.
Yeah.
And he's barely faced any lefties. Yeah. So, like, it's not like he's proven he can't do it.
Right.
So
why is Manzardo on the bench at all? I just don't understand. He's got 3 good hitters. 4 if you include Schneeman. Like,
we went through that lineup yesterday. I mean,
ridiculous.
Best case scenario was like 2 runs.
Big J Bone. If Jose isn't hitting, well, he is. Then all we can do is sit back and watch the equivalent of Tyrod Taylor at quarterback, punt fest offense. Yeah.
I think you could have chosen a worse quarterback than Tyrod.
You could have. John, he went to the playoffs once with Buffalo. John, here we go with what ifs again. What if Noel hits 30 homers and Lane Thomas hit 300 and we trade for De La Cruz and Shane Bieber comes back? Vogt is a terrible manager. Sorry today, but it's showing. I don't really know. Is it me or Guardians get
Noel was going to hit 30 home runs?
I said Noel was going to. I said Noel and Jones would combine for 40. I was crazy. I'm way off. Season's not over, but I think it's pretty, sure it's not happening. Last right fielder that showed potential was SpongeBob, now with the Padres. He's not with the Padres. Oscar Gonzalez. I was thinking Franmil Reyes.
Where's he?
Japan? He's out of baseball. And Oscar Gonzalez got sent back down to the minors. He was up for like a week or two, and he's back down. Big J Bone. Why do we always platoon in right field? It's not a philosophy. They just don't have anybody good enough.
Because they don't have right.
Yeah. Naylor has cooled off. Did Benson hit 4 home runs this weekend?
Yep.
Where the hell was I? I said he had 2.
You probably just thought you were watching a replay, but I think all 4 were on sliders inside.
Oh, God. That's a bad job out of me. I said 2. I forgot. I tried to forget about the weekend already.
He's it'll be hard to unseat him as the Ohio Cup most outstanding player.
I didn't see the Saturday game. We had a whole big thing with my son's birthday. So I watched yesterday and I watched Friday. But I didn't see Saturday's game. All right, folks. Well, thanks for joining us today. Oh, before we go, Zach, tell us a little bit right now about FanDuel. How about that?
So we're down to our final 4 in the NBA playoffs. The Pacers and Knicks, your Knicks, and the Thunder and T-Wolves. And every night we're seeing highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, can't-miss moments. So whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. So what do you think? You think the Knicks are going to do it, and we're just going to hear about them ad nauseum all summer on all the talk shows? Do you want to bet on them to win, to emerge, to beat the Pacers? Do you think the Pacers, riding high after they knocked out the Cavs, do you think they're going to advance to the NBA Finals? Whatever you think, if you're new to FanDuel, it is the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Excellent read there, Zach. Well done. Well done. All right. Final thought for today.
I hadn't said the Final Four NBA teams out loud yet. And what a weird. Are we going to get like Pacers, Wolves?
Well, 3 of the 4 have never won a championship.
Yeah.
And the Knicks haven't won since 74? 74, is it?
Something like that. Yeah.
It's been over 50 years for the Knicks, and the other 3 have never won. So
obviously, if the Knicks are there, it's like, doesn't matter who they're playing, and it's a national story. And,
right.
It's Shea or it's Ant, and it's great.
Yeah.
But like Pacers, like remember all the national media used to complain about coming to Cleveland?
Oh, yeah.
Even though Cleveland in June is beautiful.
Yeah.
But like, what are they going to say? You're going to go in between or back and forth between Indy and OKC?
Oh my God. Will that be the lowest? If that happens, would it be the lowest rated NBA Finals ever? Or will basketball fans like it because there's a lot of exciting players and there'll be good action?
That's the thing. I'm actually kind of intrigued.
Yeah. All right.
Different styles. And
that's true. That's true. Ugh, what a disaster, the Cavs. All right, folks. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. We'll talk to you. Next week will be on probably Tuesday. Zach and I haven't locked that down yet, but with Memorial Day, we'll push to another day next week. Until then, we'll talk to you next time. Where else but right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show. See you, everybody.